It's obviously not a shaving video. Um, tell by the intro. And this evolved kind of a different way. Jaro on the Shaving Cadre. I guess he used to do video production and stuck at home with the kids, got a little bit bored, decided I'm gonna do what I did before, just for fun. So he made me an intro. There goes the exposure. I guess this looks better on me. I didn't like this big white thing here, the outside, so I hid it so you could see that it was nice and blue and outside, but I guess this exposes the inside a little bit better. Anyway, he gave me that video, which is obviously very different than the video I use for the rest of my content, but it made me think of kind of what I've thought about doing, especially if I could do a live or something and interact with folks, where you just kind of sit here and just have a chat. And so this is my coffee corner. Isn't this a cool mug? So I'm actually gonna have a cup of coffee here. Video will be over when the coffee's gone. Today I'll be having a Sumatra Mandailing. And here's a little video. You can see my coffee making process. I won't show that every time, I don't think, unless I learn something else. But seeing the intro that he made, I thought that makes me want to just sit there and pick a topic and have just a conversation about one specific topic for the length of a cup of coffee. And so that's what I hope to do. And I was trying to think of a topic for today. And my mind went all over the place, just like my shaving video. So I don't know how successful this is going to be, because one topic seems to lead to another, or maybe I have more to say about one thing than I thought I did, or not as much as about something else. So it could maybe just be a more mellow pace, wandering type of thing. So I'm going to start off with talking about hobbies, just because I've been thinking about that a lot. Just because the Shaving Cadre, we joke about being enablers, and there's some guys on there, bless their hearts, they can just use a couple of shaving soaps, maybe just one brush, one razor. That's all they need. That's cool. You guys rock, because you're doing a shave for the shave, but you're part of the cadre, hopefully for the fellowship, camaraderie, such and such. But obviously there's some of us that having a hobby means you dunk your head in that thing and shake it around and become obsessed with it, at least for a while. Want variety. That's an interesting thing. And you see that happening. It's obviously a personality thing. And I don't want to get too far into that, because it can be a bit depressing, right? Like, are we replacing our need for acceptance or enjoyment or something like that with buying things and always having something new and distractions or whatever? Maybe it's just a hobby. Maybe it's just fun. And that's some people want to read a book, and if we're reading a book, we're thinking about, hey, what soap do I get to use tomorrow? But it's obviously somewhat of a personality characteristic for some of us, because we go down these rabbit holes, as we say, for many different things, and not everything. So it's interesting what we pick and choose. And it was pointed out, what was it that I can't even remember what we were talking about, but Gear knew I've gotten into the Scotch hobby since the pandemic. Something you can do at home, mail order stuff, curbside pickup, all that stuff. and we're not traveling, not going anywhere, so lots of evenings at home where you can have a drink, right? And went deep into that and kept posting new bottles I was getting and this and that. And but then recently the topic of something came up, and I was like, I'm not gonna pay $20 for whatever the heck it was. And Gary Noir points out, look at what you go and spend on a bottle of scotch, and then you're worried about spending $20 on this other thing. And it's like, yeah, there's certain things that for some reason, and who knows what that is, it's worth it. And some other things, it's not. And who knows why that is. That's interesting. And it changes over time. So the guys were an example of that. So what I'm struggling with now is watches. Yeah. Some of the guys on the cadre are gonna laugh at me. By the way, check out this mug I got at a little pop-up art shop in Portland, Oregon. Ceramic. This is awesome, isn't it? Love this thing. So anyway, as one does, so on the Shaving Cadre, they've got forums for everything. So there's a thread about watches and people just posting what they're wearing that day and new watches that they're looking at or have bought or what have you. And it's been up there for years. And I always look at what people are wearing that day out of interest. I've got a collection of watches. I haven't bought a new one for quite some time because I stopped wearing them, right? I got a phone that tells me what time it is. My phone's always out, so it's never a accessibility issue. And I just kind of forgot. And once a year, once every 2 years, I would think, hey, I got all these watches here. I should start wearing them because I like them. I like the look of a watch on a man's wrist. And but I just couldn't get back into the habit because especially if you're not wearing them, they're not wound up, their time's not set, the batteries are dead, it becomes this whole thing. So anyway, but I would watch with admiration of these guys that would wear them regularly, what they're wearing and all this. And so for some reason, recently, I took a little bit more interest in it. And I just decided yet again, all right, I'm going to get all my watches back and functional, the ones that I can. And I'm going to start wearing them. So that's the first step, right? So it got me interested. I don't know. I must have saw some watch I thought was really cool. And it just takes a little nudging by somebody when you're on the edge and you're obsessed with hobbies to get you rolling down the hill. So I already had a kit to replace batteries, but I'd broken a couple crystals because I didn't have the right press. I would just push on those watches, not realizing that obviously you can break the crystals. So I got a couple watches I need to fix with that. But I had a collection of all the batteries that I needed. I went and bought a press so I could do it correctly. So I've been replacing batteries, getting watches charged up, all this stuff. And then, of course, watching YouTube videos, as you do when you're curious about possibly a new hobby. I keep pointing out, these guys that claim to be the greatest enablers of all time, I haven't bought a watch yet. How good are they? It's a challenge. It's a challenge. How long is it going to take you to get me to buy a watch? Though there's one I'm looking at. But I started watching all these videos, and I found out that the watches I have fit into the category of fashion watches, basically. That there are category of watches that are relatively inexpensive, aren't known for their great mechanics, and you buy them just because they look nice, and that's all you're concerned about, which seems fine. Seems like a lot of people would be in that category. but their value is almost nothing once you buy it, right? You buy these watches and the value drops 80 to 90% as soon as you bought it. Nobody's trading these things. You're not going to be able to sell them for anything, which I had never thought of really either. But it does kind of become a problem as you, and this was over years and years and years, you collect X number of watches. At some point, you don't like the style of some of them anymore, or, you just have too many to keep in your display or whatever. But then what do? You can't, they're worth relatively nothing. So find out there's another category where they become resellable or collectible or what have you, that you can get something out of them, if not appreciate, if you pick the right ones or get to a high enough level. And it's interesting because I've said this before, there seems to be 4 levels in almost anything when it comes to economics, say vacations, buying goods, what have you. there's the just least expensive to be functional, right? That would be, you're going to go buy a $10 watch. I just need to know what time it is. That's all I care. And you apply this to anything. We see it when it comes to cars, when it comes to the vacations we take, all this stuff, right? There's what the least expensive vacation. You're going to go somewhere, you just stay in a motel, you're going to go walk in the parks, do things for free, just see the city, whatever. So there's the base level, right? Then there's the next level where it's quality. So you're getting your $10 watch, if it dies, it's probably not even worth replacing the battery in. You're not worried about it scratching up. It's not going to be scratch resistant. The band could start breaking, what have you. There's a next level up and I'm not knowledgeable that much in watches yet. Let's say $50 to $100, where the quality is going to be a little bit better. Maybe the glass on it's a little bit harder. This is especially true with tools, right? You go buy a power drill. You can probably buy one for $14.99 somewhere, but if you try to drill through concrete, you're going to burn that thing out. The power cord is probably thin. You know what I mean. So then there's the functional level of drills, where you could use it on an occasional basis, home repair, things like that. And it should last you a decent amount of time. And I would say that's where most people buy things, right? Where the general public, it's not the cheapest you can go, but it's kind of like, this is all I need. It's okay. It's a brand that I know, what have you. Then there's your luxury level, which I would say, and each one of these, of course, depending on what it is, your own definitions, the ranges, usually the cheapest stuff, the range is pretty small, right? You're dirt cheap, this is what you can do. Then you're kind of the bigger range for kind of like most people would buy whatever it is you're talking about in this range. Wine I know about. You can get wine for $2.99 a bottle, right? If all you want is wine, and nothing makes any difference to you, you can get wine for under $5 a bottle. I know that what is a huge percentage of the wine sold in the United States is under, $17 a bottle, something like that. So there's what most people are buying, right? So let's equate this, watches and wine, right? So that's where most people are buying. I don't know what the price range is for watches. I would assume it's between, let's say, $40 and $100, maybe $150. Guessing. Then there's the luxury market, right? So I would say, to me, not knowing much about watches, anything above, maybe I would maybe $300 above luxury, maybe 500, but there's a wide range to watches. With wines, again, so this, I think luxury is maybe the widest range of these things, because you have where most people buy, and then there's a lot of stuff above that, right? So if most people buy wines that are less than $20 a bottle, you have, I would say, between 20 and 200, 250 would be luxury. And I wouldn't say a $30 bottle is a luxury bottle of wine, but that would be more expensive than most people buy, right? So same with watches, and maybe you call it a splurge. Maybe that'd be better than luxury. This is not where most people are buying, but it can be fairly expensive, right? And if you have saved up a lot or whatever, maybe you feel proud of buying, that $200 bottle. I mean, like, we went out as our 20th anniversary, whatever. We did all this research, we got this. Or the watches, like, if I bought, I don't think I know I don't have a watch that was anywhere close to $500. So if I bought a $500 watch, I would feel like I know that they've got some much more expensive than that. But to me, that would feel like a luxury watch, right? But no matter what it is, there's a level that 99.9% of the people probably don't even know about, don't even talk about. So for wines, you can get wines that retail for $1,000, over $1,000. They're hard to get. You got to be on a wait list for a long time, or know somebody, or have a broker or whatever, but they're out there, right? Most people wouldn't know the names of these things. Same with purses was an interesting one for me. You talked about the shaving cadre going to Vegas. One time when we were there, I heard about brands I didn't even know existed. So you talk luxury market, I would think that Louis Vuitton, Burberry, those types of things, $1,500 for a purse. That seems pretty high-end luxury to me. But there's a whole nother level where that is nothing. 20 grand a purse. I'm sure the sky's the limit on that kind of stuff. But it's interesting that you can be feeling like you're buying at the luxury level, and people that, are the 0.1%, they're in another stratosphere that most people don't even know about. So same with watches. So these would be interesting conversations, these coffee ones, because I realized I was talking about hobbies. We got into economics of whatever. So maybe we can stick with one topic and it'll wander around. I wouldn't want to be boring. So let me get back to my dilemma. So as I said, my watches are what they call fashion watches, worthless, sitting in the boxes that they're in. But I like them. They're pretty. So somebody said, instead of buying 10 fashion watches for $150 a pop, buy one $1,500 watch. And then you're getting quality. It's going to last. It will probably hold some value. Which is interesting, because once you get into watches where you want to hold their value, they probably don't even start till $1,500, and most likely are way past that. So it got me thinking, like, okay, if I want to get back into watches, I'm going to keep wearing one. I want to buy and have some new ones. Which do I do? Because here you got this guy saying, you should be growing your collection over years and years and years and years and years. So if I bought one a year, 10 and $1,500, say. After 10 years, I would have 10 of that level of watch, which to me seems like a pretty decent collection, right? Versus buying more fashion watches that would give me more variety, I would like the looks of, but then are worth nothing to anybody but me. And it feels like the answer is, if it's for you, I'm not buying stuff to resell or to trade later on or something. The scotch I have is all open. Yeah, I've got stuff that if I didn't open it years from now, I could sell for more money. Same with the wine or whatever. I don't buy things based on resale value, all that stuff. So that tells me just get what looks cool, get what you're gonna enjoy wearing. But he has a point about, is it gonna last? Is it gonna be around to pass down? Again, not that I've ever cared about that, but it gets you thinking about it. So we'll see. That's enough of that. I'm curious, if you're watching this, put in the comments. I'm not very self-reflective. I don't know. That's not the right word. Anyway, I would like to know what you think about a conversation like this. I know when I'm doing the shave, that's just crazy sometimes. It's just, but the mind is going whatever like this. To me, I'm interested personally in what I'm thinking about. I'm not sure if it's interesting to watch. Let me know. And I hate guys that say that. Let me know in the comments. I think they say that just to get people to comment because that's good for your videos. I don't have enough people that's going to make a difference. I'm just generally curious. If they're like, oh my gosh. Well, at this point, you'd have had to watch it 22 minutes to hear me ask you to do that. Or topics of conversation. That would be good. Because I've thought about all sorts of things. And don't want to get too serious, really. But this was just supposed to be like, let's talk about one thing. Sit down and have a relaxing cup of joe, some conversation. And it's going to be tough to find time to do this. All the wife and kids are all gone now. Otherwise, that was my big dilemma is when can I do this? When it's nicer, I guess I could sit out on the deck. And I told my wife, maybe I need to get the lavalier mic because there's planes and it was windy and you hear cars and stuff like that. And she kind of laughed about like buying more stuff. And lavalier mics are cheap, but I don't think she knew that they were that cheap. And I said, well, what? Major Rich has one that he uses for his shaving videos. And she goes, well, if Major Rich fell off, jumped off the bridge, would you? I said, yes, I would. I would go because I would save Major Rich. That's what I would be doing. So anyway, I mentioned there's a watch I was interested in. And well, for the life of me, why can't I remember the brand now? But it's one that the dude took up to space and wore on the moon, or the backup watch for the moon. Anybody into watches would know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's also kind of bummed me out because some of these brands that I had, I thought were pretty good brands of watches. Again, because they're just past the kind of maybe what you would just buy without thinking about it price point. But come to find out, no, not really. They're still down in the, fashion watch. That's almost insulting. I wear fashion watches. Huh? Anyway, yeah, we're not going to resolve anything in these conversations. I just told my wife that got me thinking. And that's tough. No, not tough to get me thinking. I think all the time. You know that. But if I were to make the decision just to buy one, which she kind of thought was the better choice, then that excitement of having a kind of a new hobby, which you kind of feed by going through that phase where you're getting lots of new stuff and the excitement and looking for the next thing and all that stuff, it takes that part away. Which is tough. you guys on the forums.